And tonight on the Daily Wrap, Donald Trump doubling down on comments he made about President George W. Bush in 9/11. Could this dash his presidential hopes? Plus, does Vice President Biden have a special strategy to take on Hillary Clinton? Then we'll talk to the man credited with taking down Dan Rather over the Memogate scandal. And we'll also ask him what he thinks about the new movie Truth. This is the Daily Wrap, live from New York City. And welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Joe Concha along with Rick Unger. I have one question for you.
And that would be?
Will Joe Biden run for president?
I'll tell you what, I guess it depends at this point who you believe. There are people who I think are credible, who says that they have good source information that, yep, he's going to do it, maybe even in the next 24 hours. And I still think that I wouldn't put it past him to leak it to a few people, only to come out and say, nah.
Why would he do that?
It keeps the drama going. Gotta love that.
Yeah, okay. Well,
gotta love that.
The girl to your right, Mr. Unger, would be very disappointed if that happened.
I know.
Because she's the founder and executive director of the Accountability Project, and she's holding Joe Biden accountable. He better run, she says. Nomi Const is here. And finally, she's the news director for the Tea Party News Network and the author of a tremendous new book, Roar, The New Conservative Woman Speaks Out, and she will be tonight, believe me. Scotty Nell Hughes is here. Let's get right to the Daily Download. And this morning, Donald Trump, some call him double down, would not back off his comment that the United States was not kept safe under George W. Bush because of the terror attacks of 9/11 that occurred during his presidency. That statement has angered his brother, 2016 presidential candidate and former Florida governor, Jeb Bush.
His brother gets hit on. He's a loyal person. He's loyal to his brother. But his brother made some mistakes. His brother could have made a mistake with respect to the actual hit, because they did know it was coming, and George Tenet, the head of the CIA, told them that it was coming. So they did have advance notice, and they didn't really work on it.
All right, so those controversial comments have even drawn fire from fellow Republicans, including Congressman Peter King.
What Donald Trump said is totally misleading and untrue, and what your previous guest said is entirely untrue. Those briefings that President Bush got as late as August 6th from Mike Morrell, who ended up being the acting director of the CIA, said specifically that there was no evidence at all of any attack coming against the United States. Donald Trump now is sounding like a left-wing Michael Moore wacko. I mean, this is just wrong, what he's saying.
But it's not all bad news for Mr. Trump. He's getting some positive support, just not from those that will help him keep the Republican base.
What strikes me about the campaign so far is that it took a political newcomer, Donald Trump, to say something we already knew, but nobody had said before, that President George W. Bush did not keep us safe in the 8 years he was president of the United States.
Jeb said we were safe with my brother. We were safe. Well, the World Trade Center just fell down.
Okay, I'm sorry to say this, but strictly within the factual confines of that sentence, Donald Trump is he's not wrong. He's not wrong.
And that, of course, was stolen from Happy Days when Arthur Fonzarelli can never say that he's sorry. He goes, I'm sorry. So, anyway, George W. Bush currently has a 52% approval rating. Right. Yet, I think Donald Trump, even though I disagree with him, that you can't blame 9/11 on George W. Bush, is doing a smart thing here. Because Jeb Bush's biggest weakness is the fact that his name is Bush. And every time you remind people of that, it can't be a bad thing for him. What do you think of the strategy?
Actually, I don't think in this instance that his biggest weakness is that his last name is Bush. His biggest weakness is he feels an instant emotional need to defend his brother.
Sure.
I can appreciate that totally. He has to be a little more careful because he keeps taking the bait. I don't agree with Donald Trump. I never criticized President Bush for being responsible for 9/11, and I appreciate, just as I appreciate with the current president, that they've kept us safe from a major attack ever since 9/11. But he's got to stop taking the bait. You know, Trump throws this out there knowing he'll bite on it, and he bites every time.
Every time, indeed. No, you know what I find fascinating about this? The world is completely opposite. It truly is opposite day. In other words, Chris Matthews is agreeing with Donald Trump. and Peter King is calling Donald Trump Michael Moore. Yeah. Everybody's playing all these different roles. Meanwhile, MoveOn.org has a petition out that is saying to NBC and Saturday Night Live, we don't want Donald Trump hosting the show on November 7th. And MoveOn.org was an anti-war. That was primarily how they came to fame. During the Iraq War, they were the anti-war crowd, yet Donald Trump opposed the Iraq War as well. So now even though MoveOn.org is petitioning against Donald Trump, even though he was anti-war as well, while Chris Matthews has his back and Peter King and Jeb Bush are against him. I know, doesn't it make your hair hurt?
I couldn't even follow the question.
I don't know if it was. One? It was more of an observation.
Well, okay, to be fair, MoveOn.org turned into a different organization, and it existed prior to the Iraq War, and that it evolved and turned into a much larger
right, that's
liberal
when people began to notice it.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I'm not part of that petition, and I think
you're a Democrat, though.
I'm
you
a Democrat.
Agree with Donald Trump?
I agree with him in that I think both presidents, Clinton and George W. Bush, had intelligence that they legitimately ignored, and I think that there's valid criticism there. I think we lived in a different era that was not. We didn't expect this. I mean,
sure, it was unprecedented.
It was unprecedented. There was nothing like this in American history to that size.
So
but with that being said, they ignored the intelligence. And that is the problem, and that is why we are here today, and that is why Donald Trump is trying to run against Jeb Bush, because he wants to be the centrist candidate. He is trying to pivot more towards the center. And even though 52% of Americans approve of George W. Bush right now, when they're reminded of the Iraq War and they're reminded of Afghanistan, of 9/11, that is a reminder that we need to move on from that era. And I think that is his angle right now.
Okay, you are smiling.
I am just wanting to get in here, because the truth, when you look at it, 52% of people might like George W. Bush now, but let's go back before, when Barack Obama was getting elected.
When he left office, he was mid-30s.
Right? The Hamburglar could have gotten elected if he had a Democrat by his name. The good news is, because I'm saying people hated the Republicans so bad because of what George W. Bush did to the GOP.
Collapsed,
the economy, the war, the immigration policies. The GOP was a complete mess because we were acting more like what we thought the Democrats were acting like. So, you know, they did get exactly the great candidate of Barack Obama out of it. So this is a winning strategy for Donald Trump. You're either going to remind people about Bush, or you're going to remind them about Clinton and the failures of both. Yeah. He can't lose when the more he brings this up.
That's a good point.
We're already agreeing. Look at this.
You got to stop this.
Besties.
I'm not saying a word. Whenever I hear Republicans attacking Republicans, I'm living.
Peter King is not, by the way, for the record, I think I actually agree more with Chris Matthews most of the time than I do Peter King. I believe that he's one of those that should be pushed over to the left more than us. He is not a hawk.
We got to move on.
He's a bully.
We got to move on as opposite day here continues.
I'm letting that go.
Scotty agreeing with Chris Matthews. According to the latest CNN poll, did you really evoke the Hamburglar, by the way?
The Hamburglar would have won with the D.
The Hamburger could beat most candidates.
True.
So, you know.
Free hamburgers.
Trump and Dr. Ben Carson continue to rule the field with 27% and 22% of the vote, respectively. Carly Fiorina has taken a nosedive. She's lost 15 points since the last poll. More and more mainstream Republicans are saying Trump could actually pull off winning the nomination. What does your gut tell you right now, Scotty Nell Hughes?
Absolutely, and the reason why this is happening is people want to see action. They want to see honesty. They want to see trust. It's the same with the Democrats. Why Bernie Sanders is so believable right now, because he admits, I'm a socialist, and people agree with that. On our side, we've got Ben Carson and Donald Trump that say, you know what, you might not agree with what I believe in, but here it is. They're not hiding behind it. They've not been caught in lies. Carly Fiorina has been caught in several of her lies, whether you want to talk about business dealings or about Planned Parenthood. She has been caught and has damaged the movement. And so people are realizing that, says, you know what, we're going to look beyond just a great debate. We're actually going to look at the actions.
She's down 11 points among women. What would you say to a Joe Biden-Donald Trump presidential debate? Wouldn't that be the greatest thing ever?
It would be fantastic. I have no idea what to expect there. I think the personalities are actually pretty different. But, you know, to go back to Scotty's point, Carson and Trump have been caught in lies, as of all politicians. But the difference is they have more to their candidacy.
But they're admitting it. They admit their lies. If someone catches them a lie, no, which ones? What lies have Donald Trump hidden behind?
Just going back.
Carson has more to his candidacy?
But Carly Fiorina she ran on 2 issues, and she was very forceful about those 2 issues, and she was caught lying about her business record and her record with women. She was on the board of an organization that gave money to pro-choice women's groups.
I mean, the global initiative.
You get the last word in this utterly
I don't even know what to say. She's burying Republicans. I'm cool with it. Let's move on.
Okay, move on again. Share your thoughts on Trump's comments right now on President Bush by going to newsmaxtv.com/comments. There it is. Coming up next, is Vice President Biden playing Hillary Clinton?
I spend between, depending on the season, 4 to 7 hours a day, every single day with the president. I attend every meeting the president has at his request.
Well, welcome back to the show. That, of course, Vice President Joe Biden sounding very much like a presidential candidate today at an event honoring one-time Vice President Prince Mondale. At the event, Biden speculated that vice presidents are just more important and have far more exposure to the workings of the White House than those holding cabinet posts. You know, people like Hillary Clinton. But is Joe running? There are reports from Fox News and other news sources that Biden will throw his hat into the ring as soon as the next 24 hours. In an article written by Newsmax contributor Dick Morris and published in The Hill, Morris claims that the vice president will jump into the race because he has inside information suggesting that Hillary Clinton will be indicted for national security violations involving her private email account. However, if Biden has such information, wouldn't you think his boss, the president, would also have the same information? And yet, President Obama did not appear particularly concerned during his recent interview on 60 Minutes.
Did you know about Hillary Clinton's use of a private email server?
No.
While she was Secretary of State?
No.
Do you think it posed a national security problem?
I don't think it posed a national security problem.
Naomi, you're a Joe Biden fan, right?
Yeah.
So is Dick Morris right about this, do you think? Do you think that Biden has some sort of inside information and that's what's driving him to say yes?
No, I think that's, I respect Dick Morris. I think that's crazy town. That is so crazy town. You know, for any candidate to base their candidacy on a possible indictment, which could go in many different directions.
Unless you happen to be
Vice
President.
Right.
You do
And
that.
That intel.
I think that what he's doing right now, you know, the big question is, if he's running, why is he taking so long? Why doesn't he rush it along? A lot of that is perpetuated by the media and by Hillary or her team, including John Podesta. If you're going to run for president, it doesn't matter what time period, you have to make sure you have the support in place. You have to make sure that you're going out there talking with all the right people, that you're a viable candidate. For him to run, it is a sacrifice at this stage, especially since he is mourning, and especially since he's a sitting vice president and it's his legacy. He can't just throw his hat into the ring and expect something bigger as an outcome.
Scotty, do you think it is a sacrifice for the vice president, or do you think that for a man who spent his entire career, and I mean his entire career, in politics, there's nothing else to do if he doesn't run? Is it a sacrifice, or just can he not live without it?
No, I think, you know, he could go fishing with his grandkids, which is what we hope most politicians at some point go and do. Now, Mickey, to be honest with you, when you look at it, though, I wish you could have had this structure set up over the past year. I think the reason why Biden is having to get in is because they're going, Hillary is not the coronated queen of the 2016 elections like the Democrats were counting. I think he's going back. They were counting on that.
The polls would kind of indicate otherwise.
Well, 2 years ago, I wrote a book with the last line being, I am writing this book to motivate women to beat Hillary Clinton. And then I'm not the only author out there that did that. We really thought she was going to be the one and only candidate on both sides in 2016. And it's funny to watch as her popularity has gone down, the rumor of Joe Biden has gone up.
Now we see in today's Wall Street Journal poll, NBC Wall Street Journal, that in fact Hillary's popularity, according to that poll, went up dramatically following the debate, 8 points.
So did Carly Fiorina.
It's still
Look
pretty
where it's now.
small.
That's true. Oh boy,
Yeah.
Great point.
That's a good point.
It's a great point. Look, she beat up on 4 weeklings in front of 15 million people, and that's great. What I want to see.
Wait a minute, I got to interrupt you. If you say 4 weaklings, you're including Bernie. And if you're saying that she's beating up on Bernie because he's a weakling, then she is the nominee of the party.
Unless Joe Biden runs.
Right.
And you put Joe Biden on a debate stage.
Joe's numbers went down in that same poll.
Well, because
of the debate,
because she did better.
He's not running.
Guys, everything we've seen, and let's be honest, we all know that the most the best numbers you're ever going to have as a politician is the minute before you say you're a candidate.
Not always, but that's absolutely untrue, actually. You know, Obama, when he was running, his numbers continued to go up. And people didn't know who he was at the beginning. Same thing with Bill Clinton in 91. When you're running and you're campaigning, they do know who Joe Biden is, but once he gets his messages out there, and once he compares it to Hillary Clinton, you know, he's not going to run away from the administration.
But is it that
that's not going to happen.
It's not that much different of a Hillary message.
I know this.
It is actually.
I know that if at the next debate, if Joe Biden is running, that Hillary Clinton isn't going to get the free ride that she did during that last debate, that he will give her the Paul Ryan treatment. Yes, she'll actually be challenged, and she doesn't know how to handle when she's criticized by people within her own party. Republicans, she could beat up on all day.
A lot of people like the way Bernie debated. In any event, I want to move along because I like this next question. If Hillary were to, in fact, be indicted, do we think that the Justice Department would be sensitive to the fact that you want to do this before she's the nominee of the party, or possibly after she's the nominee of the party? Because we all know what that would mean for the party.
Right.
Nomi, you're a Democrat. What do you think?
I hope that they're sensitive to it. I don't know. They have their own timeline. I hope so. I think it would be major disruption. You'd have an independent candidate pop up and possibly...
It'd be too late for that independent candidate to get on the ballot.
It's going to be before.
If it's going to happen,
it's going to happen. It's going to be. I mean, there's no doubt that there are insiders within the White House that are talking to the different departments. We've already told Valerie Jarrett's a good one who's sitting there and spreading things. As for, you know, it brings up the initial Barack Obama's comment about his email that he didn't know she had a private server. Did he never look at the email address and see if there wasn't a .gov tag on it?
He doesn't check his own emails.
Yeah, let me set that straight. Not only that,
but did not someone in his office?
Hang on. You can be absolutely sure that all of those emails that Hillary was writing from her personal account were going through her assistants at the State Department. They weren't going directly from that thing. That's what's thrown a lot of people
Then the State Department should have said this is going to be a problem.
That's a separate issue. That could
be. I guarantee, though, at the same time, you would have seen a different address.
Guys, wait a second. We don't want to do that, right? You were asking a question, wouldn't that have gone to the White House? No, it would have gone to the State Department first.
And they would have attached it on an email?
Well, sure. You just have her assistant do it.
How?
So how do you do it?
Do you copy
if I
and paste
send you an
copy?
email and you send it, forward it to Joe, you
they
write
would still
it
have your tagline on it, though.
No,
I would look
it
it in there if I forward it on.
No, absolutely not. Well, we're not going to have time to cover anymore. I just want to keep that stuff straight and not spin it off to other issues. Do you think Joe Biden has inside information on Hillary Clinton's legal issues? Let us know at newsmaxtv.com/comments. Coming up, is the violence in Israel revealing a hidden media bias in America? Stay with us.
A young man did not look to be, particularly armed. And again, that was confirmed by the fact that the police ultimately removed his clothes. They didn't find any explosive devices on him. I was trying to keep an eye to see if they were taking anything off of his body, perhaps if they took a gun, if there was a gun that was visible. There was no gun that was visible. And at one point, we can clearly see from where we were lying, from where we were standing, where his body was lying, both of his hands were open and both of his hands did not have a knife.
Welcome back to the Daily Wrap. That was MSNBC's Ayman Mohyeldin reporting live last week from the Old City's Damascus Gate following an attack on Israeli police by a Palestinian. As you heard in this report, Mohyeldin stated that the alleged attacker did not have a knife in his hands, which is when MSNBC anchor Jose Bayard Diaz stepped in to clarify.
In the video that we have, that you have, that is, as you say, I mean, I don't think anybody else has this video, we can clearly see the man in camouflage t-shirt and pants with what appears to be, at least in his right hand, a knife.
Right, absolutely, and that's the point I was trying to make, was that when they flipped the body over, when they secured the body, it was at that point that his hands were then empty.
Indeed, Mohyeldin had been at the least mistaken in his coverage. Now, Change.org is calling for NBC News to fire Mohyeldin over his initial report, suggesting that Mohyeldin's report revealed bias when suggesting that the Palestinian attacker was unarmed when shot and killed by Israeli police. Joe, we'll start with you. Should he be fired?
Rick, he should be suspended at the very least. It was abundantly clear to everybody that this particular Palestinian had a knife. What you have to look at is intent. Did he purposely withhold that information during that report, or did it happen so fast that he just didn't see it?
But see, those are exactly the questions. And when you say suspend him, if he did it intentionally, then I would go well beyond
how do you
suspending
prove it, right?
him.
How do you prove it?
Well, even setting that aside, if he did something like that intentionally, guy shouldn't be a reporter. If he did it accidentally, if it was just he didn't see it, would you still suspend him?
I would take him off that beat for a while because clearly...
Which they've done before, by the way.
Yeah, and probably should do it again. Look, he should be apologizing at the very least, and with apologies comes accountability, and accountability should be, you know what, we're taking you off this beat for a while. Clearly, you can't handle the pace of seeing a guy clearly run by you with a knife and saying he was unarmed.
Naomi, what do you think?
I think a few things here. You know, he is a reporter, and he's supposed to be nonpartisan, clearly, and he's sent to the Middle East with a clear understanding of conflict and an expertise in this area. You can't question that, and he does have a reputation for having a certain perspective, as does everybody at MSNBC, to be fair.
Right.
I watched that and I thought he was trying to report on the moment, and then the video came afterwards and he had to report on the video, which it's confusing. It's like when you're doing live coverage and then you're given the video and you're told to go back and do the playback. Well, he was saying that they didn't know he had that at the time, but then in the video, it shows that he had the knife.
Yeah, no, I think that's
Can
clear.
I correct you on one thing, though?
Yeah.
You said everybody at MSNBC has a perspective. They are trying to change that where they have hard news
So
reporters.
they brought in Brian Williams.
Well, right. But I'm saying that you have opinion people, you have reporters, and he's supposed to be a reporter, not offering an opinion. That was not an opinion show that he was on saying.
No, but he also has a track record of being pro-Palestinian. That's where the whole side of it. So the fact that they've got him covering and you expect it to not be biased is very ignorant.
Well,
I mean, you know, going into this.
Wolf Blitzer is pro-Israeli, to be fair.
And that's what I'm saying, put both of them
Let me ask that question. If they were sending a report over that was pro-Israeli, like Richard Engel, would that trouble you?
It would, but to sit there and say, Richard,
that's a quick.
okay,
that's an
no,
easy
would that
answer.
trouble me? No, because I'm actually pro-Israeli myself.
So you're okay if
so
it's
I'm
on
okay
your
with on the
side.
outside, of
Oh,
course.
we got
That's
that.
allowed on that side of it.
I'll let that
On
stand.
MSNBC especially.
Guys, let me move on, please. As troubling for the Moyadeen report was for many, MSNBC appears to have compounded the problem when they ran a graphic on the air depicting Israel as having stolen land, that's not the graphic, from the Palestinians. Oh, there it is.
Oh my gosh.
It's taken us a while to get there, but there it is. An allegation that was factually wrong. MSNBC corrected the error on a broadcast the day after. There are additional charges now of media organizations revealing a bias in favor of the Palestinians, such as the headline from the LA Times, 6 Palestinian teens die amid Mideast unrest. Notice that the paper never so much as notes in the headline that those killed had first launch attacks on Israelis. So are the American media organizations, are there some that are actually biased against Israel? Quick answer.
I think absolutely worldwide. I think we're becoming anti-Semitic in this country and in journalism.
Naomi?
I think that the LA Times has a reputation for being fair. They go through editorial decisions carefully.
I don't know. Joe, what do you think? Do we have organizations biased toward the Palestinians?
Trust in media is at 23%, and there's a reason for it.
Okay,
yes,
now do we have media organizations that are biased for Israel?
Of course.
Do we? Naomi?
But not as many.
Do we,
Not
Scotty?
near as many.
Actually, what is
And
that?
I'm trying to think.
totally
I'm trying to
agree
think
with
what they
that.
would be.
By the way,
America.
you may be
May
right,
be right.
actually.
In
I don't
America?
know. I don't know, but
trying
I'm
to
wondering
think
what
what
you're
they would be.
basing that on when you say not as many.
We just gave
I gave
examples of
examples.
all
We
the
gave example of
anti-Israeli.
one.
Well, LA, MSNBC.
MSNBC.
All right. Do you guys think that the American media is biased for or against Israel? Let us know at newsmaxtv.com/comments. Coming up, we're talking to the man credited with bringing down CBS's Dan Rather in that famous MemoGate scandal.
What's our next move?
I might have something for the election.
The President of the United States may have gone AWOL from the military.
Tonight, we have new information on the President's military service.
Hey, Mary. These blogs are saying that the memos can be recreated in Microsoft Word.
Several experts have raised serious questions.
Our story was about whether the president fulfilled his service. Nobody wants to talk about that. They want to talk about fonts and forgeries. And they hope to God the truth gets lost in the scrum.
Welcome back to the Daily Wrap. That was the trailer for the alleged nonfiction movie, Truth.
Gee, how'd you like it, Joe?
Well, I'll be giving my review in a moment. The movie focuses on the MemoGate scandal that was supposed to take down George W. Bush's 2004 re-election bid, but took down CBS nightly news anchor Dan Rather instead. Joining us now is the man whose blog is credited with helping bringing down Mr. Rather. His name is Matthew Sheffield. Matthew, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so you can't see me, but here's the thing. I may have had a disgruntled look on my face after seeing the end of that trailer. Your thoughts on the movie, and were you as insulted as I was in terms of the content just making these two, Mapes and Redford, rather look so heroic?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's certainly ironic that a movie that is nonstop lies is called truth. I mean, that's the reality here. And you know, you've got the book. It was based on a book that the producer Mary Mapes wrote, which was basically a very self-serving book, and it's just, you know, it's complete fiction, and she's trying to distract people from what actually happened. So you know, the whole point of the movie is, well, you know, we're just trying to figure out whether he really had evaded his service.
Right, we're asking questions, and CBS is keeping us from asking questions, is basically the premise, that there were some serious issues that were raised as a result of the allegations against Bush, and regardless of the foundation of the argument being completely taken away, which was the documents were fabricated, they were false, and that's what the entire story is based on, that's almost brushed over in the movie.
Yeah, no, I mean, and it's like saying, well, I'm just asking the question if America is really being run by reptilian aliens, and I don't have any evidence for it. But you know, just in case, you know, it's a serious issue that we need to talk about it.
Hey Matthew, it's Rick Unger. I'm curious. Obviously, we can all agree that the documentation was not appropriate and certainly not enough to go with the story as they did. Do you believe that there was any truth behind the allegations and what they were talking about, or that the entire thing was just made up and false?
Well, the problem with the story is that they didn't spend enough time actually looking into it and reporting the other aspects of it. So,
and what would they have found if they did?
Well, again, we don't fully know because they stopped reporting on it. You know, as much as they would have. I mean, it fits within a long pattern of CBS under Rather, and he basically, when he was there as the top dog, it was basically a dictatorship under Dan Rather, that he had gotten multiple CBS News presidents fired. If you even looked at him the wrong way, like people at CBS, they told me, who had worked there, that you couldn't even look at him if you were too low on the totem pole.
Well, that's what they say about George Stephanopoulos now.
Yeah, well, I guess it must be a thing with these left-wing TV anchors.
Well, no, wait a minute. I have a little bit of a problem with that. You can look at me whenever you want.
And Matt, I think I could answer Rick's question, and that is...
Well, actually, I can't because I can't see it.
Well, you can't today. Right, you come in.
So, just to answer Rick's question, if there was something there, all right, so the documents are fabricated, but maybe Bush didn't show up for his military service, wouldn't another news organization picked up on the story and found the evidence that CBS was looking for and rushed on the air because they want to get it on before the 2004 election? That's what I always ask in these situations.
Yeah, well, and think about this. The other thing is, yeah, I mean, that was the story of the campaign, and if anybody had been able to substantiate it, and trust me, there were people after CBS stopped writing on it, working on it, that came down to Texas. I know a guy that went down there. He basically moved down there to try to figure out what was going on with it. And he never filed anything. So, I mean, again, it's not to say that that Bush, may have gotten preferential treatment to get in there, but again, I mean, we have a president who, before him, who had already been elected president, who admitted he dodged the draft. So the idea that that's going to be an issue, even as it was on its own, on their terms, is nonsensical. And then you look at how CBS News covered another presidential scandal.
We'll have to wrap it up, Matt.
In 2012, and that was with the Benghazi scandal. CBS had an interview in the can with Barack Obama in which he explicitly was asked, was it an act of terrorism in Benghazi?
And Matt, we'll have to make that a conversation for another time. Unfortunately, we're out of time. But thanks for joining us from D.C. tonight. We appreciate your perspective.
Sure.
Okay, and we want to know what you think about the movie Truth. Go to newsmaxtv.com/comments and let us know. It finished 31st at the box office last weekend. Coming up next, we're going to read some of your viewer comments.
Ed Klein's the author of a new book on Hillary Clinton, says that Bill told friends, you were the Democrats' top target, that you needed to be destroyed. And the campaign even sent out an email touting this quote. Wait a minute. Why do the Clintons want you destroyed, Senator?
Well, again, because I think they understand that if I'm our nominee, the Republican Party is going to be the party of the future, and the Democrats are going to be the party of the past. We're going to be the party of the 21st century, and they're going to be the party of yesterday. If I'm the nominee, we're going to be the party of hardworking Americans who are doing what my parents did for us, doing everything possible to leave their children better off than themselves. And they're going to be the party of big government, more spending. And look how far to the left the Democratic Party has already moved. Look how far to the left Hillary Clinton has moved to become more like Bernie Sanders. And I'm very confident that we'll win the general election if I'm the nominee, and perhaps they realize that too.
And welcome back to Daily Wrap. To catch more of Ed Berliner's interview, tune in tonight. Hardline, 9 p.m., Marco Rubio. Berliner is on a roll. Okay, let's read some of your viewer comments. First up, we have a comment about Hillary Clinton. Jackie says, Rick may be correct. Wow. Hillary very well could be the Democratic nominee, but president would be a big leap. Her email problems will keep her out of the White House.
She may be right. We'll see.
That's it?
I don't know, what else can I say? I don't agree with her, but we'll see.
Okay, very good.
We also, if she gets indicted, that will keep her out of the White House.
I think
we
so.
also have a comment about the New York Times story claiming the Pope is destroying the Catholic Church. Greg says the Pope is just trying to appease the United Nations and their Agenda 21, which takes on poverty, global warming, and other political, non-religious issues. It has nothing to do with religion. I would comment on this, but I have no idea what Agenda 21 is.
You don't know what Agenda 21 is?
Come down to the Tea Party. We got Agenda 21 covered. No, just kidding. No, it's about basically what he was saying. It's a lot like
what is it?
No, it's not.
You're faking it now.
Yeah, you're right. I am going to fake it.
I know what it is.
Why is that a bad thing, though? I mean, what do you
I'm
mean?
just asking, does anybody know what it is?
Yes.
What is it?
It's where they're hiding all the UFOs and the aliens.
No.
Okay, keep
that's
going.
Area 51.
Hey, see, I thought you were going to give a serious answer here. That's why I deferred.
You brought up the Hamburglar half hour ago. I don't want to hear it.
Reptilians, hammers.
Here are some comments on Donald Trump saying 9/11 was President George W. Bush's fault. David says, it is not fair to blame President George W. Bush for 9/11. No one talks about the fact that the attack was planned and set up during the Clinton administration's watch, except for Nomi. I believe more blame falls on Clinton than Bush, but I don't think it is fair to blame Clinton either. Let's discuss that quickly, Nomi, since you're raising your hand.
She said it.
All I have to say is 5 years ago, there were two very well-known journalists who brought this up to me and said, no one brings this up on air. If you're going to do it, be careful, because there's going to be pushback.
Can I bring up something? 13 of those terrorists had driver's licenses or signed licenses from the state of Florida underneath Jeb Bush. If he cannot keep his own state secure, how is he going to keep the United States secure?
That was good. We now turned it from his brother right on him.
Yeah, do you want to bring it to Bush? I'll take it to Bush.
Do you have a candidate, by the way?
I've got a couple.
Yeah?
I believe in a team
You
right
have
now.
one.
No, I believe in a team. That's the problem with
Yeah,
GOP.
Who are you for? Who are the couple?
Well, I like Cruz. I like Trump. I like Rubio. I think Carson will be good in a cabinet somewhere. I've got a couple of them.
Surgeon General.
Kitty says Bush ignored intelligence information about Al-Qaeda planning a U.S. attack prior to 9/11. Trump is correct that Bush didn't keep us safe until after 9/11.
Okay, and we have something from Angelos. We got it really right off the presses.
No, hot off the
If we
press.
have to ask if the media is biased in reporting news for or against the Palestinian-Jewish conflict, you must live in a bubble. The majority of media is very liberal and progressive.
But
Hard
see,
to argue.
I'm liberal and progressive, and I am a big supporter of Israel. Why do you conflate
But you
those
just
two?
said it to me. You said there's being pro-Israel and there's anti-Israel and anti-Semitic.
Oh,
They're
so
two
you
separate
think,
things.
You think I'm pro-Israel and anti-Semitic?
No,
Since I'm Jewish, that would be a little odd.
No, that's what I'm saying. But you said there are two different factions within the pro-Israel
We have to
side.
move on because we have a special comment from Noel who says, "Hi Joe, hi. My parents and aunt tune in daily and really love your show. They've all been fans since the show started and have followed you on various networks prior, like America's Most Wanted when I was on. Please say a very happy birthday to my mother and godmother, twin sisters, Noelle Trainer and Denise Silvestro. Do we have a photo?
Donna Trainer.
Donna Trainer. Do we have a photo?
Quickly,
there they are.
say happy birthday.
Okay. Happy birthday
Happy
to both of you.
birthday,
Anyway, if you want to weigh in on any of the issues we talk about here on the show or send pictures and birthdays and celebrating that and whatnot, send them in. Yay or nay, that's next. Well, you've probably heard about the shocking new book, Unlikable, The Problem with Hillary by Edward Klein. Unlikable has already skyrocketed to the top of the bestseller list. It's probably the most explosive expose on Hillary Clinton ever written. Author Edward Klein has also written #1 New York Times bestsellers like The Amateur and Blood Feud. And now in Unlikable, Klein offers a stunning, powerful expose of Hillary Clinton and her floundering race to the White House. With unprecedented access, Klein meticulously recreates conversations and details of Hillary Clinton's behind-the-scenes plotting. Klein also reveals the angry rivalry between Hillary and Barack Obama. Unlikable currently retails for $29.95, but you can get it with our free offer. You can get this almost $30 value today. Just go online or call 1-800-850-8749. With the 2016 election fast approaching, you need to get Unlikable and be armed with the truth about Hillary. And it's happy time, people. It's time for the grand finale, wrapped in a game we call Yay or Nay. First up, Martin O'Malley may be floundering in the polls, but we may have just witnessed the turning point in his bid for the Democratic nomination. This after going all Taylor Swift for the classy ladies of The View.
Katy Perry, I'm told, is doing like a benefit concert for one of my opponents in Iowa. So in response, I thought I'd offer this up for
better be a
Taylor Swift.
Taylor's my girl.
Because, baby, now we got bad blood. You know it used to be bad blood. So take a look at what you've done. That maybe now we got bad blood.
Hey! Now we got
bad blood. And now we can't call them. You made a really deep cut. And, baby, now we got bad blood. Hey!
No.
Oh,
no.
He's
Hey,
so sweet.
at least we know he can afford a nice Taylor guitar.
That worked really bad for Huckabee singing. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but that's Huckabee.
Huckabee's
Martin
actually
O'Malley's a
better at it.
good-looking.
No, I'm sorry.
a
That's
lot
like
of these
ruining
videos.
the Beatles for this generation.
What's the question
okay?
you wanna
How
ask?
to
Thank
lose
you.
the millennials? Sorry.
Your yay or nay question. Is
Should
this
you choose
O'Malley's
the answer?
Bill Clinton on Arsenio saxophone moment? For those who forget, here's how you win hearts and minds in this country. So the yay or nay revised question is singing Taylor Swift as a guy the way to get the alpha vote in this country? I asked the entertainer, Ricky.
I would say it's just singing like that is not the way to get a vote.
Okay, so saxophone
It
is the way.
doesn't matter. Well, he was good.
Oh, he was very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
You thought that was good?
He has other work on the internet where his voice sounds better. I think he's a very charming man, and America gets to see the side of him because they didn't see it during the debate because it was just a yap session between Bernie Sanders and Hillary
They
Clinton.
should have allowed musical acts.
Absolutely not. That was insulting right there to Taylor Swift fans everywhere, and I stage boycott right now.
Wow. Okay.
Oh.
So next up, Monday
Well, the
Night
good news is I don't
Football.
think he has any records out for you to boycott.
That's
But he
true.
might.
No record boycott him.
Monday Night Football on ESPN was the place to be last night, but not to see the Eagles make mincemeat of the Giants. Instead, it was where Star Wars fans could catch a new extended trailer for the 7th installment of the series, now being called the most anticipated movie of the century.
Nothing will stand in our way. I will finish what you started.
There are stories about what happened.
It's true. All of it.
You know what's amazing about that? The first Star Wars came out, which is really the 4th, but whatever, 40 years ago, pretty much, right? 76, I think it was, and that's Harrison Ford, who was in the same movie, and he doesn't look that much different.
Looks pretty good, doesn't he?
It's remarkable. So here's your question. Tickets went on sale following said trailer, and the website selling them promptly broke. Will this movie live up to the hype? Unger.
Yes.
I'm tuning all this out. Sports and sci-fi. Ugh.
Fascinating. Yeah.
I'm being forced to do it, and I own Disney stock, so heck yeah, I'm all for it right now. But everybody goes and sees that movie.
Yeah.
J.J. Abrams was the right choice for it. He's going to get it right.
Agreed. $2 billion this will make. Anyway, finally tonight, CIA Director John Brennan's email has been hacked. So who did it? The North Koreans, the Syrian Electronic Army, the Russians, the Chinese, a local geek squad in D.C. Oh no. The hacker is a self-described 13-year-old stoner. Yes, the FBI and other federal agencies are now investigating said hacker, with one source saying criminal charges are possible. This according to the New York Post. We don't have footage of him, so we're just going to have to show you Matthew Broderick in the 1983 teen hacker movie War Games instead as I keep talking. So, I think they're going to have to make an example out of him to deter people from doing this in the future, says the source. The 13-year-old describes himself as an American high school student who is not a Muslim and who was motivated by opposition to U.S. foreign policy and support for Palestine. Should the governor be hiring this kid instead of pressing charges, Unger?
Well, the first thing we know is that we don't give enough credit to 13-year-old stoners.
Good point.
Plea deal. Hire him.
Absolutely hire him. Come out in public. You'll save your neck, kid.
All right.
Don't make a
Gotta
clock.
wrap it up right there. That's our show for tonight. Rick Unger, Don't Be Cons, Scotty Nell Hughes, thank you so much. Steve Malsberg Show. That's next. Go Cubbies.